Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Web Design 101. I'm Leslie, and it's nice to see you again. So today I'm going to go through a little bit of what we went through last time before we jump into some new content. So what is a prototype? A prototype is the first or preliminary model of a machine, product, or software. A prototype is used as basis for further development and testing. So in other words, a prototype is just an early version of something that you're designing. And in our case, it's a website. There are three different types of prototypes, depending on where you are in the design and development cycle. A low fidelity prototype is usually done with pencil and paper. It is limited functionality, and it's mostly just used as a proof of concept. It's easily modifiable, and it has a low barrier to entry. Medium fidelity has some practical functionality. It is usually digital in the case of websites, and it's best for intermediate stage development. So remember that medium fidelity prototypes are digital. They work, but they don't usually look great or look the way that we would want our final designs to look. High fidelity, they are near realistic. So they feel like a finished product. And have full functionality, and they look very much like what your final design will look like. So again, here are some examples of low fidelity and medium fidelity prototypes. The first one here is just Sharpies and paper. So anybody can make a low fidelity prototype, and they're really great for showing off your designs in the early stages to get some feedback. Medium fidelity, this would be digital. It doesn't look like a great website, like visually speaking, aesthetically speaking, but the main elements are all represented, and you can start getting a feel for how the functionality is going to be in your final design. So how do we create a low fidelity prototype? So when we're talking about web design, low fidelity prototypes are also referred to as wireframes. Wireframes can be made digitally, but usually they're simply made with just pen, pencil, and paper. The wireframe will represent different parts of your website, and it'll do this by roughly mapping out the design of your page. And it's helpful when you're wireframing to have a content guide or a copy deck to refer back to when you are creating your design on pencil and paper. Otherwise, how else are you going to know what kind of content you need to map out on your page? So we can represent page sections on our wireframes by drawing boxes and horizontal lines to divide and map out different areas of our website. Even if your vision for the final design wouldn't have necessarily outlines and these horizontal lines, it's really helpful to have them in a wireframe, because at a glance, you can see the different sections on your page. So I've highlighted a few sections here on this wireframe. So up here, you see a navigation box with the logo and the login button. So that's all boxed in just so I, as a viewer, can see that this is my navigation element and this is a section on my page. Again, there's different benefits and features here all boxed in. So maybe these would eventually be cards. Maybe they would just be lined side by side. But in a wireframe, it is very helpful to box these in just so you can see that there's three different sections laid out side by side. And on the footer here, you can see that they also boxed in this element from the rest just to differentiate the footer from the rest of the website. When we're wireframing text, you want to really include the main headings on your website so you can see which sections are which. And you want to also write in any interactive elements or important elements on the page. So this would include navigation links, buttons, important form elements such as inputs or checkboxes, any blocks of text like paragraph content or lots of words in your copy deck. We wouldn't necessarily write all those words out because that would take a lot of time. And the whole key with wireframing is to do this as quickly as possible. So how we represent text in a wireframe is we typically just draw horizontal lines. As long as you have a section heading there that you can see what the section is and what copy that represents in your copy deck, a horizontal line is perfectly fine to represent just a block of copy or a block of text. So you can see here that this button for the login, we actually wrote in the login there because we want to know that this is where the login button goes. Again, like a lot of these sections have labels on them, so testimonials, sign up, get started. We've also added in text here on the submit button and the email text input form. So again, you really want to minimize the amount of text that you're writing in on your wireframe, just the important stuff to get your ideas across. Wireframing media, so images and videos mostly. So typically we don't draw out images in wireframes. We usually put a box with an X inside of it. And that would represent either a video or an image. Sometimes you may want to just draw like a camera or create a label. So like this one says hero image, just so you know which image is going where and what that box with the X in it represents. But that's perfectly optional. If you have it in your head what that image is going to be, feel free to not even have a label at all. Just you know where where you're going to position that image on your page. That should be good enough. The only images that I kind of draw in with greater detail personally are icons. So this could be like social media icons or arrows, that kind of stuff, because it typically adds a little bit more context to your design. But again, completely optional. You can use whatever level of detail you want on the wireframes, but typically less is more. So I've highlighted some media in this example. Up here, we have the hero image, we have a video player. In this example, the artist of this wireframe decided to kind of roughly sketch out like a profile. So just to represent that this would be an image of a person. Again, completely optional. So before I head into your activity for this weekend, I do want to show you a wireframe that I made for my portfolio website. So it's very simple, only on pencil and paper. I consider myself an artist, and this is a terrible drawing, but websites wireframes are supposed to be terrible drawings. So just note that I put in all of my sections divided with horizontal lines. I put in some media with the little X and I labeled it. I put in my headings just to know which section is which, and I boxed in some of my content, which is, again, completely optional depending on how you want to design your page. I also crudely drew some social media icons just to represent which ones would go where. Again, completely optional. You are the artist, so however you want to wireframe your website, that's completely up to you, but I definitely suggest using just simple pencil and paper. So for this weekend, I want you to create a wireframe of your one-page portfolio website using your copy deck as an outline. So just remember to include all of your page sections appropriately labeled. Make sure you know which blocks of copy are going where. If you have any ideas of what images you want to use, make sure you include those in your wireframe. The main takeaway in your wireframe for images, videos, and icons is that you just know where they are going to be laid out on the page. Also feel free to add any important buttons or links and label them appropriately. I really can't wait to see what you guys come up with for this one. Your creativity can really start to shine through in these wireframes. So good luck. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. All right, have a good day, guys.